like most proteins that are manufactured for human use, they're manufactured in cells. The difference, and this is a very important difference, is that we manufacture through plant cells rather than through mammalian cells, which is often the case, and that has great benefits with respect to the environment, with respect to purity and sustainability.
All right, welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Dr. Eliot Forster. He is the chairman of Protalix BioTherapeutics. And Dr. Forster, great to see you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks, Steve, and lovely to speak with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to get a little more insight into Protalix and the work that they're doing. Tell me a bit. You're obviously the chairman, so you're really happy about what the company's up to. Tell me what they do.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Protalix is a sort of rare beast amongst the biotech community in that we have products that are being sold. We sell them through partnerships with Pfizer and Chiesi, and we're really excited and enjoying those partnerships. But these are products that came from our own pipeline, and it's an achievement indeed for anyone to get a drug to the market, but to have done that twice and from the same R&D pipeline is quite remarkable.
And the company operates on their own sort of a system called Protalix. Maybe you can sort of explain to us how all of this works and how you got to those products.
Yeah, so it's a kind of a simple thing in the sense that, like most proteins that are manufactured for human use, they're manufactured in cells. The difference, and this is a very important difference, is that we manufacture through plant cells rather than through mammalian cells, which is often the case, and that has great benefits with respect to the environment, with respect to purity and sustainability, and of course it means that reproducibility, because we're just using plant cells, is also important as well. And we produce exactly the same human proteins that anyone else would use using so-called CHO cells, which are mammalian cells that are often used to make protein-type drugs. And this technology is entirely within the Protalix organization, and we manufacture products for research, so things that are in our pipeline, as well as the products that are currently for sale across the world.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a second, but on the sort of in the pipeline, gout is something that the company is looking at, and your first in-human study of gout was in 2024. Some really promising results there for PRX-115.
We're really excited about PRX-115. So the gout market is reasonably poorly served. There are some obviously painkillers for the more mild to moderate end of gout, but severe gout, which causes ultimately joint defects and other issues with organs, is poorly treated. And we believe with PRX-115 we have an opportunity to transform the care of patients. And again, another product coming out of our research labs and through the pipeline, following on behind our two commercial products. So we're very excited about that. Enjoyed the data that we've seen and looking forward to developing it further.
Yeah, and so that includes a phase 2 trial that's happening this year, right? That's kind of the idea.
That's the plan. We'll move that forwards and see where we get with the profile. We're very clear about the needs of patients and therefore the decision criteria we use internally. But everything that we've seen so far gives us great encouragement that PRX-115 will be successful.
On sort of the revenue side of things that you talked about a little earlier, it's kind of broken up into sort of 3 streams, I guess, is a way to look at it. And all those streams saw increases in 2024. It really was a record year for the company financially in 2024. It sounds like Protalix is really strong 2024, really building into 2025.
Yeah, we saw 2024 as a kind of breakthrough year for us. Obviously, we developed the partnership with Chiesi, with Elfabrio, and having that begin to be commercialized around the world and making great progress. And obviously that's reflected in our 2024 numbers to some extent. But looking ahead, we continue to believe that we'll go from strength to strength, not just with those partnerships, but with our own R&D pipeline and building internal value. And the company has been on a long journey, and I think for the very first time we can probably look up and out and look to be thriving as a business, and hopefully bringing products forwards and building shareholder value. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and that does that by having a strong balance sheet. And I noticed that you've been able to repay all of your debt. There's no warrants outstanding. Financially, it sounds like you're, for a company that's developing like you are in PRX 115, having that stability on the financial side is really important.
No, it really is, and we don't have to lean too heavily on equity, which is terrific. We have income. That income, at least in part, can finance our R&D activities. And as I say, it's a rare beast to have a biotech who's in that position, and we're very excited about the prospects going forwards.
Last question, and that is just ahead in 2025. I know obviously we talked about PRX 115, but I imagine there's other things in the pipeline as well that really have you excited as a doctor who's sort of overlooking this company.
Yeah, we've just done an extensive R&D review, and we've got all the way through from our manufacturing processes all the way through into earlier stage pipeline activities. Really exciting innovations, and going into spaces that I think are of particular interest in the healthcare community. So we're thinking about rarer conditions, looking at organ types that are not that well served. So examples of that would be renal type of disease and so on. And those areas are the areas that we're beginning to look at from a research perspective, and of course we now know how to do that. We know how to go from research into development into the commercial stage. So this year is another exciting one, and I know the team are working hard and looking forward to bringing more data out.
Well, it's going to be an exciting company to cover in 2025 for sure. Dr. Forster, thank you so much. Great to get an update on where you're at and obviously where you're going. Exciting times ahead.
It's a pleasure. Thanks very much, Steve.
All right, Dr. Eliot Forster. He is the chairman of Protalix BioTherapeutics.